All right, welcome everyone. This is AI for Customer Insights, and this webinar is brought to you by Stifel. And Jonathan is going to tell us a little bit more about Stifel.
Yeah. So, yes, I'm Jonathan Mao. I'm here. I'm a VP in the Stifel Venture Banking Group. So you may have heard of Stifel. Our investment bank is quite famous, as is our wealth management group. So we are one of the largest banks in the United States. Headquarters is in St. Louis, Missouri. We have offices throughout the U.S. I'm actually in our New York office. But I'm particularly in our venture debt or venture banking group. So specifically, it's about 90 people. We're dedicated solely to the VC and startup ecosystem. So we are the bank for startups and the funds that invest in them. We have a very large, our largest office is in San Francisco, not surprising. Second largest office here in New York. Um, you know, we uh, we do all kinds of like what you would expect a bank to do. So we take deposits, we pay yield. We're paying 3.5% right now, or 3.45%. It's free money. It's FDIC insured. I highly encourage you to deposit your money and earn the highest possible yield. It is a demand deposit account, so it's not like a savings account. You can withdraw the money kind of when you need it. You still get the yield. So if your bank isn't paying you that, definitely look into that as an opening. We do credit cards, wires. We assign you a single human who is kind of your private banker when you come with us. So we do all that. We also do venture debt. So this is where your startup usually raises from known kind of VC firms. We provide essentially extra capital. It's non-dilutive, of course. It doesn't take away ownership of the company from you or your team or the current investors. We work with you to kind of like find the most flexible solution. Each company is different. All venture debt is like a highly customized sort of financial product. We have a whole team of credit analysts here who do that. So that's definitely something else to think about. Debt varies tremendously, anywhere from 500,000 up to 50 million. I mean, we can get very comfortable just depending on the situation for your company. So that's kind of that. We're also just briefly the bank for funds. So if you're a VC firm, we are also your bank. We provide uh, different debt products to funds as well. So capital call lines, slightly more exotic stuff like NAV lending. It's also possible. We have hundreds of VC firms on the platform. We have hundreds of startups on the platform as well. And then I guess the last thing I'll say is we hold many events in the ecosystem. We're very like ecosystem centric. We have a lot of relationships with VC firms in particular. Some of those events are public. You can find them on our calendar, same place you found this webinar. You can also just search Stifel Venture Banking calendar on Luma. So Luma is our main events platform. Some of our events are private as well. Okay, well, many of our events are private. We hold hundreds of events per year. So every week there's anywhere from 5 to 10 events going on that we are either sponsoring or co-sponsoring. We attend as a group like even more than that. So yes, we're very active in the space. We're always looking to connect with new founders, VCs, investors, people who are kind of involved in the ecosystem in other ways. So feel free to kind of like reach out to me if you want. You can respond to the Luma. I get those, but you can also email me. My email is, I mean, I'll just give it to you because the chat doesn't work for us because we're a bank. It's MOJ, so it's just the three letters, MOJ, at stifelbank.com. And you can also find me on LinkedIn, and I also respond to messages there.
All
So
right.
that's,
Thank you, Jonathan. And you came from a deep tech background, yes?
yeah. I mean, my background's complicated. So I was a scientist originally. I did astrophysics, and then I did medicine. But for almost 7 years, I was an early stage VC. I've done about 30 deals, mostly in the seed stage. And yes, I mostly looked at deep tech and industrials. So like satellites, semiconductors, industrials, like different types of industrial robots, 3D printing, this type of thing.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, so a little bit about me for those of you who haven't met me. I've been doing this product and building for over 20 years, and I've been coaching startups for the past 10. I've been doing workshop for a while for Stifel for like maybe like what, 5, 6 months now or something like that with Jonathan.
Yeah.
And this is something that's really exciting for me because the world is changing so fast. And a big part of that is for us who know or who want to build stuff. It's just an exciting time. So because it feels like we can build anything. But at the same time, we're starting to face the reality that it's not actually that easy or that simple because there are a lot of things to consider. I think Aaron mentioned earlier about technical debt potentially, right? So we build something and then maybe it's like we don't take into account the history of it. And the other thing is that now building is fast. So if everyone can build, where is the competitive mode, right? So the next thing can happen is that you build something and it's gaining traction, somebody else could quickly build it, make a copycat, right? And the trap is we're wasting runway building solutions to problems that people don't have. That's even worse than that, right? Okay, so the blind spots that a lot of founders and teams have are focusing or relying on only single source of truth, single data point. For example, one of the things that we do a lot, as you know, many companies do a lot, is survey, right? Survey because it's quick, it's something that we could quickly get a lot of data points. But then sometimes what is missing from that is why users do things, or sometimes a lot of problems with survey, also the biases. People answer the questions based on aspirational instead information instead of their actual behavior, right? And that's also another issue. And then in the UX world, a lot of times, or in the startup world also, we use user interviews to supplement that to understand like the deeper reason, the root cause of the behavior. But then the problem with that is a lot of times we can only do so many interviews because it's very time consuming. And then the third data point that a lot of companies use is analytics, right? If we're relying on analytics only, we only know what's going on, but we don't know why. So combining these different things could actually give us the complete picture to help us identify the problems that we should be solving. So multi-source solution. When insight converge from multiple sources, we can gain more confidence in the signal, right? Instead of just noise. And these are some of the potential data points that we could use. And what's in today's webinar, we're going to use only few of these, but ideally you want to activate as many as you can to get better and more accurate pictures, including like social media, feature requests, user testing. And sometimes these are not obvious, as in like, for example, um, chat logs from customer success. Some people don't have, or sales calls. And for today's data set, we're going to use surveys, synthetic data that I've generated for the purpose of this uh, webinar. We're going to use also synthetic data from interviews, but we'll use YouTube, Reddit, and also another synthetic data from analytics, but you get the point from that. So we're going to combine all these things and get the AI to simultaneously and uh, review them and converging into patterns. Okay, so in this scenario, we're going to pretend that we work for LinkedIn and we're trying to improve uh, their platform, right? So this is one that is not used enough is to collect YouTube data. So if you want to follow along, I'm gonna drop this in the chat so you can do this. So we're going to go to YouTube first.
Danny, sorry. Could you
Yeah.
explain why I'm confused. We're doing LinkedIn, but we're going to YouTube?
Yes. So we're going to YouTube to get information about the topic, right? LinkedIn for job seeker. What are people actually trying to do on LinkedIn, the users, right? Because these YouTubers always sharing tips and tricks, let's say
Okay.
to
Okay.
LinkedIn, right? So if we work for LinkedIn, we want to improve it. We want to know what the problems are. So this is one of the ways. How do they use it? What are the tricks that they use, right? So now we're going to use that and LinkedIn for job seeker. If you're a job seeker, what are the things that you should be doing on LinkedIn? And how are these influencers hacking LinkedIn? Okay, so this is what I'm getting. Right, so what we're going to do next is to take this and use these as our sources for Notebook LM to extract the tips and tricks from these influencers so that we can get a sense of, okay, whereas from there we can get a sense of where the problems are for the job seekers that these influencers try to help solve. So as the product team for LinkedIn, then we'll get an idea, okay, this is where the friction points are. Okay, I'm gonna get like, oh, not Arya Stark. So I'm gonna do, we don't even need to look this. So I'm going to simultaneously open Notebook LM now, create a new notebook. And here's where I'm going to add them. So these become the sources for our Notebook LM notebook. Okay, probably this one because
If you're sick of your job and you're looking on,
need this, I just need the URL. For the sake of this, I'm just gonna find the top few of these. And another thing that's important is to look at how old they are. In this case, like maybe 1 year, 2 years is fine. But then if you're doing this for something that's fast moving, let's say your product has to do with AI, you probably want something that's more recent. You want to filter it by recency. And also this gives us an idea in terms of whether this is something that's resonating with users or not by the number of views. Okay, I'm gonna use this one.
TikTok is to
This one. And then let me just grab one more after this. I'm not gonna go with LinkedIn Premium. Job search one. Oh, it's the same guy. Okay, how about this one?
As a corporate recruiter, one of my favorite.
Okay, we got the sources. And then I'm going to just ask it. We're not gonna generate the studio stuff. We could if you want to go deeper, but for the purpose of this, we're just going to ask this. What pain points do job seekers mention in this video? Where's my, okay, there it is. Now, what Notebook LM does is it actually extract the transcript. It doesn't really watch the videos, but a lot of times that's more than enough for us. And also it's good that it's giving us the sources, right? Just giving us these, messaging restriction, extreme competition, blah, 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 blah. And then we can just grab this as a text file that we can use in the next one. Just gonna copy that and create a text, a new text file for it. this will be used in the later step for synthesizing. So we're going to combine these with the other sources that we'll have. So I'm just going to put this on my desktop, call it LinkedIn pain points. Change it from YouTube, so I know what it is. Before I continue, does this make sense for people? Any questions before I go to the next step, the next tool? Okay, looks like everybody's quiet. Then I assume that this is making sense. Again, to recap, the reason why we go to LinkedIn is because, to go to YouTube is because YouTube influencers are very active in identifying problems. And also, the other side of it is that if those videos get a lot of views, that is a signal that that problem resonates with a lot of people. And then they talk about it deeper so that we can actually get a better sense, especially in patterns like this, we can get a better sense of where is the problem and where is the pain point. And especially if we're running the product team, in this case for LinkedIn, then we can get a sense, oh, this is where our product is lacking. Okay, next we're gonna use Perplexity and another UGC, we're gonna get Reddit data, right? So this is the prompt. I'm gonna give it to you in the chat. What we're gonna do is we're going to search Reddit for unfiltered user complaints and frustration about using LinkedIn for job searching. The same thing, so we want to get signals from a different source, right? So in this one, we'll get raw user quotes, unfiltered frustrations, real language that the users use. So I'm just gonna drop this whole thing into Perplexity now. So open perplexity.ai. Let assistant control your browser. All right, sure. So it's going off to Reddit now and trying to grab this information. What? I don't know why it's going to mature content. Interesting perplexity. Okay, we're going somewhere that's more appropriate and relevant now.
Quick question,
No,
Danny, if you
but
don't mind.
so what I think is that because people put in Reddit curse words, that it triggers, that it just automatically triggers mature content. I mean,
Right.
that's my guess.
Maybe. Mickey?
I've seen that. I've seen that with Google with at work with like using AI Studio and stuff. So
Yeah, it makes sense. Mickey, what was your question?
Yeah, with the you're using Perplexity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it more effective from your experience? Is it more effective to specify the platform to do the like a scraping of the insights, or can we like a more I can think of other places than Reddit where people would post this kind of like opinions, but is Perplexity also good at like selecting the relevant platform within the internet and summarize all the insights from different platform? The reason why I'm asking is I feel like there are certain type of people who are active on Reddit versus others. Yeah.
Yep. So that's a really good question because different platforms have different kind of personas, right? And the thing that we need to be, so the short answer is you don't have to, depending on your research. If you want like the big picture, like zoom out, you can actually ask Perplexity or whatever tool you use to recommend those places based on your persona, right? The place where to look for these people. Now, with that, there is also the other side of it, which is well, two considerations. One is the ease of getting the data, and number two, the quality of the data, right? The quality of the signal, as in like the reason why I like to use Reddit is because people tend to be very candid, because this is like basically people complaining in a lot of cases and sometimes trying to help one another. Another place would be X, obviously. And the third one could be Facebook forums or Facebook groups,
Right.
Facebook groups, right? The- but going back to the technical limitation, the reason why Perplexity now is using the browser is because Reddit is aggressively trying to block robots and scrapers,
Yeah.
right? So there are those things that we need to take into account. But normally I start with the quality of the information that I want to grab first, because I feel like in terms of expressing frustration, Reddit is probably the best place because people get frustrated a lot and complain here.
Gotcha. Yeah, makes sense. So there is some human thinking maybe
Yep.
could do before. Thanks.
Yeah, so that is actually a very important point that you brought up. We do need to inject our judgment in terms of, okay, what are we trying to collect here? What kind of data point, right? Not everything will work on, like for example, if I'm working for a small company and I'm just been self-promoting on Reddit, and then I use this method, just using Reddit blindly, no one knows about my company, then it's not gonna give me anything, right? If I focus on using that as like, oh, what's the frustration that people have using my platform? Like, no one used my platform enough. It's not enough for this to be a good signal. So in that case, then maybe I'll use this for uh, getting the pain points of my competitors. Then I could see the opening, right? But the frustration is a good indication of where to look in terms of the potential opportunity. Emil, go ahead. Emil, we cannot hear you. Oh, okay.
Okay, can you hear me now? Sorry.
Now we can, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I was asking, in the YouTube example, you brought in two things, right? Like, so one was the human in the loop, which is you were collecting the top 5 links
Yep,
out of a search. But you also applied a numerical filter there, which was the
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 views,
most recent view, the most recent as well as the views, right?
correct.
Whereas in this perplexity prompt, none of those are being applied. So should this prompt be somewhat qualified with some filtering? Because I feel like, I think one of the points raised earlier was Reddit is used by a certain kind of people. Sometimes people just go in there to vent their frustration of a job search. Job search
Mhm.
can be a very tedious thing, and people just go in there to say things. And then there's also like this rabbit hole. People go back and forth, and there's can be rabbit holes, and you go off on a tangent.
Yep.
So how would is this prompt like something that we can or should we improve on to make
Oh,
that better?
definitely. Yeah, I think adding those two things potentially, um, as you get the result back, this is where you want to adjust the prompt as well, right? Like the filter, as in recency, is a good one. And also another thing is the count here, like how many people actually like it, up it, or the comment count. You can use those as filters in your prompt when you give it to Perplexity. That's a good idea.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, I think those are things that normally you want to combine. the recency and then how popular the thing is in a way, right? How many people actually resonated with that thing. So with that, we're moving on to the third thing. So we got our Reddit, right? So we got our Reddit data. So we're going to use that later. And then the next thing is we're going to combine those, and I'm going to show you guys the other data points, the synthetic data point that I created for the purpose of this exercise. So in here, we have some behavioral analytics, CSV, which is like application submitted, easy apply used, blah, blah, blah. This is not real data. This is synthetic data to stimulate like the analytics from LinkedIn as a platform, right? And then we have the survey data, usage frequency, professional status, blah, 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 hiring effectiveness, right? Survey data. These are two different data set, a lot of data set, and then some interviews that looks like this, like transcript of conversation with job seekers. So now we're going to go to Claude and drop behavioral data, survey, user interview, and then the two things that we create, the Reddit and the YouTube. I'm going to give you the prompt if you want to follow along. And then this one is saying product, but we just replace that with LinkedIn. For this one, we can potentially use any of the AI assistant, the popular ones like Claude would be good, Notebook LM could be good, any of these. But the reason why we're using Claude today, because after this, I want it to help me create a journey map, and Claude is pretty good at that. I'm just going to format this a little bit just for my own sake. 4 and then 5. Remove this to just save some tokens. So that looks right. Synthesize into 3 user personas for each demographic goal, core pair point. Okay, I'm gonna also do this just so I can see a little better. Behavioral patterns. Okay, that looks right. Unmet needs, and then prioritize patterns, bringing in resources. Okay. Patterns. That's the important thing here. I'm gonna drop this, and then I have the earlier I had, where was the link? I'm gonna put YouTube. Then I need to create one more for this one. I'm gonna copy this, create a new text file so I can drop it in there as well. Format, make plain text. Okay. Then from Reddit, there you go. I think I have everything now. I'm just gonna run it. So this could go in so many different directions depending on the data that you have access to, and also the purpose of the analysis, right? If you want to continuously improve your product, you want to know the pain points that people are feeling now, then you can connect this with customer support chat log, for example, or app review. Okay, now it's got that. Run 6 commands. Any thoughts, comments while we're waiting for Claude to cook this?
I have a quick one, Benny. So have you noticed any difference between the different chat applications, like whether it's ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, when the chat gets really long? So you mentioned the use case where you might want to continuously monitor certain inputs and trends. I noticed you're using Claude. Is that because they are better in your opinion?
So far, I feel like that, but logically, to be honest with you, they're comparable depending on how comfortable you are with the tool set that they have. So the reason why I like using Claude is because the MCP ability is very robust compared to Gemini, for example, because Gemini is quite limited into like what Google provides, right? I think ChatGPT is not as good as Claude, but this is becoming like a personal thing. I have a friend who just use ChatGPT most of the time, and it's still doing the same thing in most cases. You can achieve the same thing because we don't do for this. It's really using the AI to analyze a lot of things, and the main thing that we may want to leverage in this is like one browser use, right? So if we need to grab more data, it could fetch the data from the web. And number two, potentially some kind of like visual, like the modality for like getting visual if you need to get screenshot and whatnot, if that's necessary. But in a lot of cases, a lot of these models can do the job fairly well. Now, in terms of you mentioned long conversations, I do like how Claude has the compacting context, automatically compacting the context, and that's been very useful. That said, I believe all of these tools now have memory already. So that's something that sometimes we just need to tell it like, okay, we talked about this before, but the feature wise, they're all comparable at this point. Did that answer your
Perfect.
question? I'm not sure if I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, no, you did. That's exactly what I was wondering. Thank
All
you.
right, cool. All right, so we have the volume sprayer, we have the strategic networker, and then we have the disillusion lurker. And this is pretty cool how Claude now creates this kind of more visual artifact here. The one once word flagging, variable one to more than active user. No, this is now this is going back to what Mickey asked earlier. Depending on our research, we need to be mindful of, like in this case, the disillusioned lurker persona is more visible in the qualitative research on Reddit, right? Some people tend to be more vocal, on Reddit, but that does not represent, that may not represent the population. That's like a small sample size. So this is why we're using multiple data points to essentially cross-check and to cross-validate. Okay. So from here, we're going to journey map, have Claude create a journey map. We're going to pick one. So this is the prompt. So we could start seeing the big picture. In some cases, you want to turn it into a service blueprint also if you want to include when you want to get a view of the business processes. So in this one, we want to include the emotional state, the pain points, workarounds, and we force it to cite the resources. And the formatting as stage, action, pain, and evidence. Going back here. So I'm going to drop the disillusion lurker as the name, the persona, using this persona. Create this with 4 or 5 stages. So in this case, the AI, in this case Claude, will define the stages, and then we're going to have it format the output. Now this is where we may want to choose the different tool because the output of these different tools like ChatGPT versus Gemini versus Claude or Grok, they're very different. The flavor is different. And in this case, Claude tends to give, at least in my experience, tends to give me the better looking and easier to use output, especially now that they have integration, like they have the MCP for connecting to Word to create to PowerPoint. If those are the outputs that you need, it's great to use Claude. Now, is this the way I would like this journey map? Probably not. Maybe I may need to ask it to update this. Or the thing that could have done better is to give it an example of the format itself instead of just this basic format as this. But as a starting point, I do like the overall just like highlight. So arrive and orient, search, browse, attempt, reply, wait, interpret, and drift and withdraw. And the emotional arc is actually pretty bad there. So, but it's the way it shows it, it's not bad. Okay, let's see. Oh, that is nice. And they have the actions, the pain points, the emotion, and then this is the workaround. This is what they do right now. And this is also nice to identify design opportunities, all comparing to the other ones. So it's smart enough to understand the context in this conversation and ask us these questions. Okay, I'm going to go to the last one because this is the lowest emotion. Normally with this journey map, you want to identify the worst emotion and deal with it because that's like the breaking points for a lot of our users. I'm gonna see intervention ideas for stage 4 before you get here. It's accumulated weight of stage 1 to 2 arriving unresolved. Now, in this case, we're starting to move towards solutioning. And from here, we could potentially continue to ideate. And in this case, it's good to have like this product opportunity matrix with effort versus impact. Then we can start identifying, okay, maybe there's a low-hanging fruit that we should design for, and then continue on with the design process. And because Claude is very good with creating artifacts like wireframes, this is very natural workflow for me, normally when trying to identify a problem and start coming up with solution. That said, though, from here, we could also just go deeper into the problem space, identifying more issues, or validating it more. All right, I think that is the last steps. Yep. So takeaway: single source data equals blind spots. Multi-source triangulation means validated insights. So we want to make sure it's as robust as possible, especially now. We can't just rely on the AI to do research for us. We need to have the human in the loop, like what we discussed. AI-enabled hours versus weeks, much faster, but also we need to be careful with now, especially with AI-generated content. We go back to Reddit as an example. Now we need to start thinking about what would that look like if Reddit is littered with AI-generated slop as well. The reason why I use Reddit as a source is because it's very human frustration, but we need to be careful of that and monitor that. Converging evidence equals more confident in our decisions. With that, and that was the last, this is the last slide. Upcoming workshop is this coming Monday in person, actually. You'll see Jonathan and myself in the flash. We're real, we're not AI. And we're going to go through rapid prototyping. We're going to use anti-gravity there. Any questions? And then I'll drop my LinkedIn in case anyone want to connect if you haven't connected with me. Questions, comments, thoughts? Going once. Aaron?
Yeah, no, thank you. This was really great. I mean, it was a great tangible walkthrough. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
It just gives us more ideas and more ways to, drive these sort of prototyping patterns and journey maps and processes.
Thank you. Thank you, Emil. And anyone else has any question or thoughts? If not, then
No,
oh, Mickey, go
quick
ahead.
note. Yeah, so I always ask, bring this up, so you may be tired of this, but this is this was really cool to it was inspiring to see different sources we could get insights from. I'm again thinking about like an enterprise B2B SaaS products. Other than the internal product metrics, I'm having a hard time like thinking of other sources, like a public sources where we can get meaningful insights for enterprise solutions. So do you feel like it's still we have to do more human driven like a research to get the meaningful data and then use AI to synthesize the
One
B2B?
one data that could be super useful for B2B is to get in this case maybe use Perplexity or Gemini to research the best of whatever that category you're in, because this is a very very popular method for SEO. But by doing that,
Okay.
you'll see like I'm sure you know your competitors, but you can use these things to also um, identify them and then identify those blog posts and whatnot. And then from there, you can get a better idea of, okay, what are the things that they're competing on? That doesn't address the pain point directly, but it's implicit in that, right? And then another one would be just forum in general. There are so many forums out there still for different industries, different sectors. So it depends on where, if that is something that's relevant for you, especially in fintech, this is big, right? And I think in
Right.
tech also, but I don't know what, sector that will be relevant
Yeah,
for.
no,
And
that's a good point actually.
and Mickey, one thing we use a lot of at work is we have a lot of 10K, 10Q, both recordings and uh, reports, and then we also have a lot of competitive. We subscribe to a lot of competitive research reports, very, very kind of industry specific. And then a third thing is there's a lot of a very vertically specific. They used to be magazines, but since nobody reads anymore, like real things, and there's a whole new generation, probably yours, no offense, that came in without kind of reading industry magazines, and you kind of didn't realize that there's still industry websites, right? That used to be those magazines, and those industry websites are, they usually kind of like event businesses at this point, but they pump out a ton of industry news, and they interview, right? They interview, like very specific, like the tire industry, like that's actually one of our industries that we work with. And there's 32 main competitors in the industry and 500 smaller mid-sized ones, and there's like four or six industry kind of rags, or kind of websites that, if you're a tire marketing or a tire production or a tire operations or supply chain professional, like that's like you're going to get into the weeds there. So we'll get a lot of that information, and then we'll tend to get, so we'll get those sources, and then also conference information like sessions. If we can get the content in the sessions, like we'll try to, like when you can sign up for conferences, sometimes they'll give you the whole digital copy of the conference too if you pay an extra 1,000 or 500 or whatever. So we'll kind of enrich everything that way. So we have basically, we call it an enrichment strategy, which this information really isn't public. It's not public free, but it is public priced, right? So it's publicly available. You just pay for it, some of it, and it's not a lot, relative to what you're
Yeah.
trying to do.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you. Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. A
Sure.
bunch of things
Yeah, I can
available. Yeah.
I'll put my LinkedIn here too, and I'm not. Don't worry, I'm not selling anything, Danny. Don't worry. Not competing. But yeah, if you want to connect or whatever, um, yeah. So we sort of built some patterns around this type of research. We did it really for our salespeople, actually, originally, and then we kind of helped the marketing team out, and it just kind of
Really
kept.
good idea. And I think the big idea here is to just go back to the basic, right? The
Yep.
super fundamental is like people are looking for solutions. These people looking for solutions because they have the problem. Where do they look? They could be events, could be conferences, could be expressing their despair on Reddit. They could be expressing this. Where are they? And we find them. And then a lot of these signals, then we can combine together to create a more complete story. On that note, Jonathan, you have anything to add to close this?
No, thanks, Danny.
Thanks, everyone. Hopefully see you guys
Oh,
again.
a quick question, Danny. Your event on Monday, is that a paid event or is it a public event?
It's a public event,
Okay.
but you need to be nice to Jonathan because Jonathan is the one who approves people.
Is there a
No, yeah, no, Aaron, you should find it on the
On a Luma.
Luma, our
okay?
Luma calendar page.
Sure. All right. I'll look for that. Cool. Okay.
Okay. If you don't, you can check my email just in case. It's MOJ, so my last name and then my first initial. So MOJ at stifelbank.com.
Okay, great. Thank
But
you.
yeah, it's definitely on our Luma, so just sign up and
Yeah, well, okay, very cool.
yeah.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Great. Thank you, Danny, once again for awesome stuff.
Danny, do you want to stay in this room? I can stay here.
Yes, actually.
Thank you. Have a
Thank you
good
all.
one.
Cheers.
So